There are a few ways that we can graph using Matlab. One of the ways is to call what is referred to as a function handle. So I'm going to call a function handle to be the letter F. I'm going to use equals, the symbol, and put in parentheses an X. And I'm going to use for this the sign of X. By putting sign and in parentheses X. That way, it knows to take the sign of whatever value X is. Mind you, there's currently no value for X. And the command that we are going to use to graph this is called fplot of F. Why that? Because of the function handle that we found, that we created here. And by the way, you can find that function handle listed here in the workspace as a function handle, which is a nice regard. When we run this, it will then produce a graph that will eventually load with our sign function graphed on, as we could see on here. That's one way that we could graph. The other way that we could graph, because naturally, as we could see here, that gave us a very specific values between the, -1 and 1 on the y-axis, and -5 and +5 on the x-axis. Let's face it, maybe we don't want this. Maybe we want to have a say in what is actually used as the interval for our x and y axes. So to do that, we need to create two variables in this case. So I am going to set x to be, starting at the number 0, let us go up by 1/2. And then let us end at the number 5. Now I'm going to put a semicolon just because we technically do not need to see the array of numbers, but do note how it says here that it has size 11. And based upon that then, those are our x values. That's going to give us the x-axis and allow us to be able to see different portions from that. So then with that being said, we need a function, right? So I'm going to call the variable y. We are going to use, for our example here, we're going to use x squared. So if I just put in y is equal to x and then that caret symbol and then 2, that should give us x squared, right? And notice how it gives us an error. That is because of the fact that, based upon the way that we just did it, these values of x here are in an array, and because of that, we can't just square x, since x is not just one number. It's a multiple of numbers, a total of 11 here, according to the workspace. So let's edit this. We need a period before the caret for the exponent. And now, when we hit enter, it allows us then to square everything, as we did here on the bottom. I did not put a semicolon, which is why we could see all the values. And then after doing this, we want just to use the regular plot function. And we are using x and y because we have an array of values for the x and our subsequent y values, which are supposed to be x squared. And as we could see, the graph updates with the portion of our quadratic equation. And based on that. So those are the very quick basics on how to graph using Matlab. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.